1 of August 2026, and we are live from Dubai International. As you know, Dubai is a business hub, tourism hub, technology hub, and a safe city, and UAE is the safe country in the world. And today on 21 of August 2026, we are live again from Dubai Creek. In the day today there was too much humidity, but now here we are feeling windy weather, cool weather, nice weather. So we are just enjoying our live to start now. We are waiting your comments, your feedback. You can send me your questions in the comments, and we are waiting for your comments. Otherwise, we have to read some latest or breaking news to feed our live for 1 hour recording. Send me your questions, comments in the comment section. So we are now here in the Khalij Times. Khalij Times is the official newspaper from Dubai and UAE. It says that Hezbollah says new US sanctions will not deter its resistance. Abu Dhabi police warn against jaywalking. Urges pedestrians to use designated crossing. Abu Dhabi police on Friday, August 21, urged pedestrians to cross the road safely and avoid jaywalking, warning of the risk of crossing at undesignated locations. The authority called on pedestrians to use designated crosswalks, pedestrian bridges and underpasses, and to follow the traffic signals. In a video shared by the Abu Dhabi police, one resident is seen crossing a multi-lane highway, putting himself and passing motorists at risk. The footage also shows the pedestrians using a designated crossing, but a driver failed to give way, forcing them to adjust their movement as the vehicle passes. The authority also urged motorists to remain alert to pedestrian movement, reduce their speed near designated crossings, and give pedestrians priority when crossing. Check out the video below. Abu Dhabi police stressed that pedestrian safety is a shared responsibility between pedestrian and driver. The awareness campaign is part of the force's strategic priority of smart road security, which aims to enhance the safety and security of pedestrians and other road users. Earlier this year, authorities stepped up pedestrian awareness during Gulf Traffic Week 2026, held under slogan Cross Safely. The campaign focused on following traffic laws, using designated crossings, avoiding highways and dangerous roads, obeying traffic signals, and staying alert while crossing. Authorities also warned pedestrians against distractions such as the mobile phone use while crossing. Jaywalking is illegal in UAE. Jaywalking is punishable by a 400 dirham fine in the UAE. In 2021, Abu Dhabi police said it had issued nearly 7,900 fines to jaywalkers, almost 8,000 fines. So how much is this? 8,000 multiplied by 400. Let's see the 8,000 fines multiplied by 400. It's more than 3 million. Penalties can be significantly higher when jaywalking results in an accident. Under the US federal traffic law that came into effect in March 25. A person who crosses from an undesignated area and causes a traffic incident can face imprisonment and a fine of dirham 5,000 to dirham 10,000 or either penalty. So this is the local news from Abu Dhabi and Dubai, UAE. Next news is Kuwait recalls Range Rover Defender Discovery SUV models over airbag issue. Kuwait has recalled 3 Land Rover car models due to safety concerns. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry announced on Monday, August 3. The recalled models are the 2022-2027 Range Rover, 2020-2027 Defender and the 2021 Discovery. The vehicles were found to have issues in the airbag system, with the ministry revealing the connector may be subject to corrosion over time. The authority urged drivers to show their cars for inspection, where corrective action will be taken in accordance with the manufacturer instruction, free of cost. Car owners have been urged to contact Ali Muhammad Al Ghanim and Sons Automotive Company on the hotline number and to book in advance. The Land Rover models are manufactured by Jaguar and Rover, a British car maker which is owned by India's Tata Motors. Earlier today, Saudi Arabia recalled 96 vehicles of the 2025 Audi Q5 after a safety issue was identified in the vehicle's front seat belt pretensioner. The defect could cause the pretensioner to loosen after it has been activated, potentially reducing the effectiveness of the seatbelt system and increasing the risk of injury in a crash. Meanwhile, earlier this year, UAE residents were affected by German automotive giant BMW's global recall over a potential fire risk linked to the engine starter. So all is this local news from Kuwait. Next is these are all old news. Let's refresh our page. Pirates seized 2 tankers off Yemen, Somalia, 22 Indian nationals. We are still committed to Gaza peace plan, senior Hamas official assures. Sharjah warns against storing furniture in building corridors. Sharjah Civil Defense stressed that these areas must remain clear and accessible, particularly in emergency when residents may need to evacuate quickly. Sharjah on Friday, August 21, reminded residents not to use corridors, emergency exit or escape stair walls of their residential buildings to store furniture and other belongings. In a safety reminder, the Sharjah Civil Defense stressed that these areas must remain clear and accessible, particularly in emergency when residents may need to evacuate quickly. How to dispose of unwanted furniture in Sharjah. Discarded sofas, tables, washing machines, TV, cupboards, microwaves, mattresses and other bulky items left near garbage bins are also a common sight in residential areas. Besides creating an eyesore, such items can obstruct the movement of pedestrians and other residents. But residents in Sharjah have a free option for disposing of unwanted furniture and other bulky items. BIA. BIA, the UAE's environmental management company, offers its U-Call V-Haul service, which collects unwanted furniture, appliances, and other large items for proper disposal and site recycling. How to request U-Call and V-Haul service. Residents can request the service by calling the U-Call hotline on 800-9294. Alternatively, they can submit a request online by preparing the items for collection, taking photos, and visiting BIA's U-Call V-Haul service page. Residents can then fill in the form, upload photos, and provide details including the preferred collection date and time. The items should be placed at the agreed pickup point, usually in front of the building or villa. Dumping furniture in corridor is illegal in UAE. In the UAE, storing belongings in building corridors can also lead to legal and regulatory issues. In Dubai, for example, residential corridors and hallways are considered common areas intended for the use of residents and occupants. So this is local news from Sharjah. Let's see the next news. Iran talks about prioritizing offensive as diplomacy with US stalls. Dubai's Toyota building demolition. UAE takes legal action against the resident for insulting Emirati women on social media. So UAE weather is now going to change next month. The next week is the last week of August, and then in September we are going to witness reduce in temperature and high level of humidity. UAE's 7 countries condemn Israel's E1 settlement. UAE and 7 countries condemn Israel's E1 settlement plan in occupied Palestinian territories. The foreign minister of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt have strongly condemned Israel's continued settlement policies in the occupied Palestinian territories, rejecting the E1 settlement plan and related activities east of occupied East Jerusalem. They also condemn violence and violations against Palestinians and their property, saying such acts, which they said were carried out with the support of Israeli authorities, violate international law and relevant UN resolutions. They stress that such acts do not undermine the Palestinian people's inalienable rights and warned that they pose a serious threat to regional and international peace and security. They describe the E1 plan as a dangerous escalation that would further expand settlements and advance annexation while undermining territorial continuity between the West Bank and East Jerusalem. They said this threatens the prospects of an independent and contiguous Palestinian state along the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. The minister also said the plan challenges international peace efforts, including US President Trump's comprehensive plan, which rejects annexation and forced displacement. They also cited Trump's commitment to preventing the annexation of the West Bank. They reaffirmed that a two-state solution based on international law and relevant UN resolution remain the only viable path to a just and a lasting peace. The ministers called for accountability, including international measures and sanctions against individuals and entities responsible for illegal settlement activity, as well as those supporting or facilitating settlement expansion and annexation. They also called for an end to support or financing that contributes to the establishment of or expansion of settlements, warning that the lack of accountability allows such violations to continue and undermines prospects of peace. The ministers called for the immediate halt of the E1 settlement plan and the reversal of measures related to it, as well as an end to settlement activity and other measures aimed at changing the geographic and demographic character of the occupied Palestinian territory. They further urged the UN Security Council states and other international actors to uphold their responsibilities under international law, take urgent action to halt settlement expansion, and protect Palestinians' rights, including their right to self-determination and to an independent state. So the next news, let's see the next news. Let's have a look on, we're still on Khalij Times. Let's have a look on the Dawn News. Dawn is a credible newspaper from Pakistan. Hezbollah says new US sanctions will not deter us. Government says blah blah blah. Islamabad Chief Commissioner again moves AFRiCA against discriminatory order to shift. People of Balochistan will have first right to province wealth. Prime Minister Shehbaz. Let's see this news. The Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was addressing the closing ceremony of the Balochistan National Workshop in Quetta, which was attended by senior government officials, local notables, and religious leaders from the province. Today, if I was to say that Balochistan is Pakistan's richest province, I wouldn't be wrong. But our precious metal and minerals are still buried under mountains in massive quantities. Give me 1 minute just. There should be no doubt that this is the wealth of the people of Balochistan, whether they are from Makran, Las Bela, Chaman, or any other area. Acknowledging that the people of Balochistan would have the first right to benefit, the Premier said questions arose about whether the full benefits of the province metal and minerals could be expected. To ensure that we will need investment to extract that wealth from the mountains and waters. We need expertise, we need the means. He further said that Balochistan and the federal government needed to work together to bring this wealth to the people of Balochistan first and then to the people of Pakistan. PM Shehbaz Sharif then discussed some of the challenges facing Balochistan, including the need for education, hospitals and roads, as well as the security situation. The biggest thing is that geographically you are the largest province. If people need to head to different areas, if they need education, if hospital and roads need to be built, then providing the means is a genuine challenge. He said, noting that these issues were not unique to Balochistan. So how do we solve these issues? Through mutual consensus and the fair distribution of the available resources so that all provinces benefit. The Premier said, if there are challenges, they need to be resolved through mutual dialogue. However, PM Shehbaz said that no Pakistani could try to solve the problem by resorting to violence. He cited examples of people from elsewhere in the country who had come to Balochistan for work. but were captured by terrorists and killed based on their ethnicity or where they were from. As far as terrorism in Pakistan is concerned, there is no doubt Fitna al-Kharij are being benefiting from hostile nations and martyring the innocent. He said, using the term the state employs to designate terrorists. Security forces and law enforcement agencies are fighting them day and night. They have kept hundreds of millions of children safe at the expense of their lives. We must never forget this sacrifice. Early today, Chief of Defense Forces and Chief of Army Staff Field Marshal Asim Munir said that foreign-sponsored proxies are being employed by hostile elements to destabilize Balochistan, obstruct its development, and create a wedge between the state and its people. According to the Inter-Services Public Relations (ISPR), he made the remarks while interacting with political leadership of Balochistan. It said that CDF Munir underscored that the present and the future of Balochistan and Pakistan are one and forever. Balochistan possesses some of the world's most promising undeveloped deposits of copper, gold, chromite, antimony, and potentially rare earth elements. The province is home to the world's largest undeveloped copper deposits at Rakodi. The province is home to the world's largest undeveloped copper deposits at Rakodi. A $7 billion mining project is jointly owned by the government and the Barrick Mining Corporation in equal shares. It is expected to begin production by the end of 2028. According to the Pakistan Institute for Conflict and Security Studies monthly security assessment released on July 31, the security situation deteriorated most significantly in Balochistan and the country last month. The overall death toll increased by 241% in Balochistan from 109 in June to 372 in July. Security personnel death in Balochistan increased from 6 in June to 62 in July, representing a rise 933%. Terrorist deaths rose from 75 to 238, while civilian deaths increased 93% from 28 to 54. 18 members of peace committee were also killed in that province. Pakistan and 7 other Muslim states condemn Israel's illegal settlement policies in occupied Palestinian territory. Also on the Dawn News. Same news on the Dawn News. Pakistani, Turkish and Saudi companies show interest in Jaipur Privatization Commission says. The Privatization Commission on Friday said it had received an overwhelming response from domestic international investors to proposed privatization of Gujranwala Electric Power Supply Company. Today, on the closing date for submission of expression of interest, the Commission has received from 11 prospective investors seeking to acquire 51 to 100% shareholding in the together with management control. Turkey issues genocide warrant for Israel's Netanyahu. That's the latest news. Turkey has sought an international arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, accusing him of genocide linked to Israel's interception of an aid flotilla for Gaza, the Justice Ministry announced on Friday. Turkey has become a virulent critic of Israel's war in Gaza sparked by the Hamas October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel. President Tayyip Erdogan has frequently accused Netanyahu of genocide. Israel's interception of a flotilla carrying some 430 activists in May sparked an international outcry. France, Italy, and Australia have also launched judicial proceedings. Turkey's Justice Minister said on X that his His ministry had asked the Interior Ministry to issue Interpol red notice alerts for Netanyahu and another Israeli named as AFRiC. As part of the judicial proceedings concerning the attack in international waters on the flotilla activists, and in accordance with the arrest warrants issued on July 14, 2026 against Benjamin Netanyahu and AFRiC for genocide, the Ministry of Justice has requested that the Ministry of the Interior issue red notice for their international arrest. Netanyahu and Moskowitz are being prosecuted for crimes against humanity, genocide, aggravated deprivation of liberty, intentional assault and battery, torture, destruction of property, aggravated looting, and hijacking of transport vehicles. Later, Netanyahu branded Erdogan an anti-Semitic dictator in a statement from his office and vowed that Israel would continue to act forcefully against Turkey's attempts to destabilize the region. Erdogan is an anti-Semitic dictator who massacred Kurds, supports the massacre of the Hamas terrorist organization, and oppresses his own people. The statement read, Israel will continue to act forcefully against Turkey's attempts to destabilize the region and against any threat to its security. About 50 vessels were in global Samud flotilla that left Turkey in May heading for the besieged Palestinian territory. The activists were detained in Mediterranean by the Israeli military and then taken to an Israeli prison before being expelled. Israel's far-right National Security Minister Ben-Gvir caused his own outcry by releasing a video showing himself taunting some of the flotilla activists who were on their knees with their hands tied behind their backs. So fresh spell of rain, thunderstorms forecast across Punjab, KP from August 21. How the state can honor the memory of victims of terrorism in Pakistan. Why structural reforms in Pakistan have never lasted. So we are just reading the news from Dawn News, and we are already reaching half an hour of recording. US national debt surges past $40 trillion for the first time. Syria proposes joint business council with Pakistan. Iranian president says time to end the war while in position of strength. Iranian President Masoud said on Friday it was time to end the months-long Middle East war with the US because Tehran appeared to be in a stronger position than Washington. Talks between the decades-old foes remain on hold, with both sides in the war started by the US and Israel in February locked in a stalemate. Tehran is keeping the key Strait of Hormuz partially shut, and Washington is persisting with the naval counter-blockade of Iran. It is better that we bring the war to an end now, as we are in a position of power and dignity, Peshkian said in a meeting with doctors. Okay, the whole world acknowledged our victory and emphasized that America has attacked our schools, hospitals, and infrastructure in violation of all regulations and is hated around the world. Peshkian also defended a memorandum of understanding agreed with the US in June aimed at ending the war, claiming it did not signal a defeat for Tehran. They cannot find even a single clause in this agreement that indicates a capitulation. All the commitments concern the other side. His remarks come weeks after Iran's supreme leader Mustafa Khamenei said that he had approved the deal to end the war despite having different views. According to reports in US media, the American Navy has been organizing and protecting secret convoys of tankers through the southern sector of the Strait of Hormuz, enabling between 5 and 10 million barrels a day of oil to be exported. As Tehran claimed to be in the stronger position, the US has said it would ramp up sanctions to heap pressure on Tehran. The American plan drew condemnation from Iran's foreign ministry, which accused the US of economic terrorism and crimes against humanity. The perpetrators and instigators of these sanctions are deserving of trial and punishment for committing such heinous crimes, it said in a statement carried by the state media. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Thursday vowed Washington would collapse the Iranian regime with its threatened campaign nearly 6 months since their war began. So now we are over half an hour. The moments underscored how the Trump administration is shifting to economic rather than military pressure on Tehran as the US president's unpopular war drags on. China also criticized Washington's economic plan, saying the US sanctions and pressure would not resolve the Middle East conflict. Economic doomsday. Washington had urged other governments, including Beijing, to join efforts to accelerate the Iranian economy. Asked about US President Trump's threats, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian told reporters on Friday that sanctions and pressure will not help resolve the issue. China calls on all relevant parties to take responsible measures and resolve the problem through political and diplomatic means. Chinese President Xi Jinping is due to visit the White House on September 24, when the topic of Iran is sure to come up, as it did when Trump traveled to Beijing for a summit in May. Bessent said the plan to ramp up economic sanctions against Iran meant Washington was less likely to have to return to heavy military operation against the country. The U.S. Treasury chief said he would give further details of the economic measures against Iran during a press conference on Monday. Other senior Iranian officials also criticized the U.S. sanction plan. The so-called economic doomsday is a diversion from America's own crisis, unprecedented debt, and surging interest costs, Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a post on X. An unprecedented event, UK Met Office says this year's El Nino to be the biggest for over a century. Germany reports record 14,000 heat-related deaths. Top India court orders new steps to protect threatened elephants. Aisha Wahab makes history as first Afghan-American elected U.S. Congress. Japanese Justice Ministry ends partnership with dating show for X, blah blah blah. Product overhang. The gap. Well, Google puts $500,000 behind Pakistan's digital safety push. Students to get free access to Google's AI tools for 1 year. Middle East turmoil triggered global chain reaction. Mega green project in Brazil, a milestone. Let's see this news from Brazil. Where is this? Mega green project in Brazil, a milestone. What is your personality type? What the hell? Okay. A nation between adversaries. Let's see Turkish newspaper Daily Sabah. As we recorded now 35 minutes and remaining only 25 more minutes. Global outcry grow over West Bank settlement push new Nakaba fears. Israel keeps killing Gazans to push genocide death toll past 73,000. Israel opens first criminal probes into the troops' Gaza killing. Israeli drone strike on Gaza kills 6 Palestinian child. 11 countries condemn Israeli strikes on Syria, demand withdrawal. Eleven Muslim and Arab nations on Friday strongly condemned Israeli airstrikes targeting the Abu al-Zahur military air base in northwestern Syria. Where is this? Warning that the attacks mark a dangerous escalation that threatens regional stability and violates Syria's sovereignty. In a joint statement issued August 21, the foreign ministers of Turkey, Algeria, Indonesia, Palestine, Qatar, Lebanon, Malaysia, Mauritania, Pakistan, Somalia, and Saudi Arabia denounced the strikes as a clear violation of the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political unity of the Syrian Arab Republic. The ministers voiced deep concern over Israel's continued targeting and destruction of Syrian territory and infrastructure. They warned that such attacks risk undermining Syria's ongoing efforts to restore security, rebuild national institutions, and address the humanitarian consequences for years of conflict. The statement also cautioned that continued Israeli violation of Syrian sovereignty and territorial integrity could fuel further escalation, destabilize regional peace and security, and erode respect for international law and principles of the UN Charter. The foreign ministers called on the international community to take a firm, clear, and principled stance against the continuing attacks on Syria and take concrete action in accordance with international law and the UN Charter. They also urged steps to end the violations, ensure full compliance with 1974 agreement on disengagement, and secure the withdrawal of Israeli forces from territories they occupy, saying such measures are necessary to prevent further escalation and safeguard regional peace and stability. The ministers reaffirmed their support for Syria's sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity, and political unity, while rejecting any attempts to undermine them. So this is the news from Syria, Turkey, and the Middle East. Iraq working to expand oil exports via Turkey, Syria, Jordan. Prime Minister. Let's see this news. Iraq is working to expand oil exports through Turkey's Mediterranean port of Ceyhan and develop export routes via Syria's Banias and Jordan's Aqaba ports, Prime Minister Ali Al-Zaidi said Friday. Crude oil sales account for nearly 90% of Iraq's revenue, but its exports have been hurt by the outbreak of the Middle East war between Iran and the US, which choked off the Strait of Hormuz. Iraq, an OPEC founding member, was forced to halt production in most of its oil fields during the war as reservoirs filled up. Al-Zadi said he wants to increase the country's oil production to as much as 10 million barrels a day within 6 years. We are working to increase Iraq's share within the OPEC Plus framework, and we aim to reach a production of 9 to 10 million barrels per day in 6 years. Too much. Iraq recently asked OPEC to increase its production quota because of the war impact. Before the conflict began, Iraq produced around 4 million barrels per day and exported an average of 105 million barrels per month, mostly from its Basra oil terminal in via Hormuz. Due to the waterway disruption, it began exporting crude oil using tanker trucks through Syria as well as through a pipeline to the Turkish port to Sihan. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz poses a major challenge. He said Baghdad was working to increase oil exports via Sihan as well as Banias in Syria and Aqaba in Jordan. After a drop following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, Iraqi oil exports recovered slightly to around 49 million barrels in July, with more than 30 million of them passing through the strait. In the first 2 weeks of August, Iraq exported an average of 2 million barrels per day, its highest level since the start of Middle East war, while Baghdad relies heavily on foreign currency earning from oil sales. Authorities are seeking to diversify the country's economy. Turkey showcases growing naval capabilities at top maritime festival. Wow. Let's see this news. Techno-Fest Blue Homeland brings together Turkey's naval platforms, indigenous defense technologies, unmanned system and maritime innovation in a showcase of the country's growing capabilities at the sea. Turkey's growing naval capabilities, domestically developed defense technologies and next-generation unmanned systems are on display at the specialized maritime-focused leg of the country's biggest aerospace and technology festival. The four-day Techno Fest Blue Homeland at the Golchak Naval Shipyard Command in the northwestern Kosari province began on Thursday and runs through the Sunday. It is bringing together naval platforms, submarines, aircraft, missile and air defense systems, unmanned vehicles and underwater technologies, while also allowing young participants to compete in maritime technology contests. Organized under the coordination of the National Defense Ministry and the Turkish Technology Team Foundation or the T3 Foundation, the event has drawn significant interest from visitors seeking to see Turkey's naval capabilities and defense technologies up close. The opening ceremony on Thursday was attended by National Defense Minister, Chief of General Staff, Naval Forces Commander, Defense Industries Presidency Head and Force Commanders and Defense Industry representatives. The event is showcasing 37 naval assets and platforms from different classes, including vessels currently serving in the Turkish Navy. Among the most prominent platforms on display are Turkey's largest military ship, the TCG Anadolu, the TCG Istanbul, the TCG Barbaros, the TCG Salahiris, the TCG Targotris, the TCG Camalaris, the TCG Orakaris, the TCG Bargazada, and the TCG Dereya. Other naval assets include mine hunters, patrol vessels, amphibious ships, and support platform, offering visitors a broad view of the Turkish Navy operational structure. The TCG Anadolu has emerged as one of the main attractions at the festival, giving visitors the opportunity to tour parts of the ship and see its flight deck, hangar, and mission areas. The festival also brings together Turkey's maritime heritage and its future naval capabilities. The historic Savarana and the museum ship are being displayed alongside modern warships and submarines. Milden highlights Turkey's submarine ambitions. One of the most closely watched exhibits is the first test block of Turkey's national submarine, Hello, boss. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam. Good.
You are lost.
Lost?
Every day I come here, I don't see you.
Yesterday, only small time.
What?
No problem. We need a live recording. One of the most closely watched exhibit is the first test block of Turkey's national submarine known as Milden, which represents a major step in the country's efforts to develop indigenous submarines. The submarine is planned to be more than 80 meters long with a displacement of about 2,700 tons and an endurance of more than 50 days. Milden is expected to undertake missions including anti-surface and anti-submarine warfare, reconnaissance and surveillance, mine laying, special operations and support for task groups. The submarine is planned to be built at Golchak Naval Shipyard Command with additional infrastructure being developed to support the program. The Melden displays offers visitor a glimpse into one of Turkey's most ambitious naval development projects as Ankara seeks to expand its ability to design and build complex military platforms domestically. Unmanned systems take center stage. Unmanned maritime and underwater systems are another major focus of the festival. Let's complete the remaining on the bus. The bus is here. Let's complete the remaining 10 minutes more on the RTA bus. So, unmanned maritime and underwater systems are another major focus of the festival. Turkey's defense industry has brought a range of unmanned surface vehicles or USVs to Golchak, including the ULAQ developed by Ares Shipyard and Madgassen, Avlasen, Aslasen, Marlin. These are the Turkish words mostly I don't know how to pronounce anyway. The system demonstrates the growing role of unmanned platforms in reconnaissance, surveillance, and combat missions while reducing the risk faced by personnel during operations. Young engineers and students are also competing in the event's unmanned underwater system, underwater rocket, and unmanned surface vehicle competition. The underwater rocket competition drew applications from 243 teams with 16 finalist teams advancing to final stage at Golchak where they are testing their systems under real-world conditions. The competition challenges participants to demonstrate underwater movement, navigation, stabilization, and mission capabilities, highlighting the festival's focus on developing a new generation of engineers specializing in maritime and defense technologies. Steel dome and missile systems. Turkey's multi-layered air defense architecture known as Steel Dome is also among the major defense exhibits at the festival. The display includes Aslan's blah 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 alongside the Cyper and Hisar air defense systems developed through cooperation between Pakistan's Dastan ballistic missile as well as the K plus KMC and Basu items are also being presented to visitors. Other domestically developed weapons and defense systems highlighted at the event include the Turkish Navy's anti-ship missile, heavy torpedo, and the Malaman smart naval mine. The range of systems on display underscores the increasingly integrated nature of Turkey's defense industry, spanning naval platforms, missiles, air defense, unmanned vehicles, and sensor technologies. Turkey are building more than 50 warships simultaneously. Speaking at the opening ceremony, First Day Naval Force Commander Admiral said Turkey is currently building more than 50 warships simultaneously for both domestic and foreign customers. 50 warships. Today we are building 37 warships for the Turkish naval forces and 20 for the foreign countries. More than 50 warships simultaneously. It's huge. He also emphasized the strategic importance of maintaining a strong navy for Turkey, citing the country's geographic position and maritime interests. Minister similarly stressed Turkey's efforts to further strengthen the capabilities of its armed forces, including the navy. He said the Turkish navy continues to serve as an effective and deterrent force protecting the country's maritime rights and interests, highlighting its personnel, modern force structure, domestically produced ships and submarines, unmanned systems, and advancing technological capabilities, warships, and air power. The maritime-focused festival also extends into the air. TB2 and TB3 unmanned combat drones are among the aircraft being showcased alongside blah blah blah. The Turkish Navy's SH-70 Seahawk helicopter and the Turkish Armed Forces Bell AH attack helicopters are also on display. The festival is hosting daily air and maritime demonstrations, including performance by the Turkish Navy's elite underwater attack and underwater defense units. Visitors can watch tactical demonstrations as well as naval and aerial shows designed to showcase the operational capabilities of Turkey's armed forces. Technology meets maritime military platforms and defense systems. Technofest Blue Homeland also incorporates maritime culture, science and sports into its program. The schedule includes the Blue Homeland sailing parade, swimming, rowing. Where is this? The festival also aims to introduce younger visitors to maritime technologies through interactive activities and exhibits, while giving students and technology enthusiasts access to military platforms not normally open to the public, showcasing Turkey's efforts to build a more self-reliant maritime ecosystem.
Next stop is
Beyond military platforms and defense systems, Technofest Blue Homeland incorporates maritime culture, science and sports into its program. The schedule includes the Blue Homeland sailing parade, swimming, rowing, science activities and technology demonstrations. Operational pressure from U.S. military aircraft. The Airports Authority warned in late July that U.S. Air Force tanker planes stationed at Ben Gurion would contribute to flight delays during peak summer season. Foreign airlines slow to return. Israel International Flight Network has yet to fully recover from repeated suspensions prompted by the war Israel started jointly with U.S. against Iran late February. Several major foreign airlines halted Tel Aviv services following the outbreak of the war, leaving Israeli carriers to accommodate a large share of international demand. American Airlines which had planned to resume flights to Israel in January 27, postponed its return until March. Delta Airlines and United Airlines are expected to restore their Tel Aviv services in September. The reduced presence of foreign carriers has limited competition and contributed to persistently high ticket price, particularly on long-haul routes. Despite an increase in available seats on the Tel Aviv-New York routes, fares remain volatile and vary sharply depending on the airline and travel date. Israeli travel industry data showed that economy class round-trip fares for the September holiday period. Angel bag startup deals in Turkey fall fifth. Turkey taps 6.7 billion cubic meter of gas 6 years after Black Sea discovery. 6.7 billion cubic meter of gas 6 years after Black Sea discovery. Wow. Trump backs crypto bill urges action amid Senate holdup. AFRiCA student blew whistle on rogue AI hacking attempt. Zelensky's office faces corruption probe amid election demands. Solar power generation hits new record in Turkey in July. Turkey begins excavations at 2,800-year-old Phrygian tumulus. Ronaldinho making comeback to try to score 300 goal. Our central banks are hitting the bricks. Finally, we are closing up live at this time. We reach our destination. We reach our destination, and now it's time to close our live because we completed 1 hour recording for our YouTube live. So during these days we have no time for TikTok because we're busy in YouTube. We want to monetize our channel as soon as possible. So we are just in the beginning of our YouTube journey, social media journey. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining, for supporting, and for following.